You're watching Ravens Rundown. I am Tom Downey here with your post-game reaction, plus some not great injury news for Baltimore. But let's start with the positives, right? The Ravens did it again in a very stressful game for an umpteenth time this season. The Ravens pick up a 34-31 win in overtime against the Minnesota Vikings. It looked bad. The Ravens got the ball into Vikings territory. Then Lamar Jackson threw an interception. The defense stepped up, forces a 3-and-out, and then Justin Tucker does Justin Tucker things, a 36-yard field goal with mere seconds left in the ball game to deliver a win over Minnesota. The final 34-31. We'll go more in depth on this momentarily, but first, I want to get your one-word reactions coming out of this particular game for Baltimore. Let me know. One word only. What was it? Head to the comment section right now while you're typing in votes. I'll give you mine. I was going to go with resilient, but I can't spell that word. So instead, comeback is my word because that's what the Ravens have been able to do. They've been tough, mentally and physically tough so far this year, and I really got to give them credit. I got to give the coaching staff credit, the quarterback, the defense, special teams, all of it. They moved the ball well, but turned the ball over plenty as well. That was a matchup that it looked like they were going to lose. You're down 14 points early in the game. You're trying to rally late. You take a lead, then you give it back up on a late drive by Kirk Cousins. You turn the ball over near the red zone in overtime. You get a 3-and-out. That was a great comeback effort, a very resilient win for Baltimore. Now let's spend some more time here briefly offensive before I give you guys some more comment chances here. 34 points in general wins you the game. 500 yards normally wins you the game. 247 on the ground. We will spend more time on that. That, frankly, is one of my bigger takeaways coming out of this matchup because those rushing yards, that matters for Baltimore in a big, big way. 2 turnovers nearly cost them. The Ravens lost the turnover battle in this one 2-0. They did win the penalty battle 61-107 because Minnesota, man, they make mistakes. But after tripling Minnesota on first downs, that's right, 36-13, they still needed overtime. So with all of that in mind, and we'll go more in depth on the ground game, Lamar, and the Deshon Elliott injury, I want you guys to grade the Ravens win over the Vikings because that was a big one. That was a game they needed to have to keep their number one seed hopes for the AFC in good standing. So this is going to be the pinned comment on today's video, meaning if you get the ad break here on YouTube, head down there and let me know. A, B, C, D, or F. Let's talk Lamar Jackson now. Now, Lamar remains a bit more inconsistent, I think, as a passer than you want. Namely, those turnovers, the 2 interceptions were not great. 266 through the air on 41 attempts. Again, not quite the average that you're searching for in this one. 3 touchdowns as well. Solid. He made some big-time plays, rallied them late. Lamar is able to do it as a passer. We've seen that many a time in his NFL career. The haters and losers simply pick and choose which games they want to focus on, which plays, and ignore the overall picture, which is not perfect, but does show a player who can throw the football. And although Lamar had been a bit more bottled up than he'd been in recent games, how about these ground stats? 21 carries, none of them going for longer than 12 yards, and he averaged almost 6 still with 120 on the ground. That showing by Lamar Jackson was damn good on the ground. The Ravens' ground game had not been great this year, but they run for 247, 120 from Lamar, 48, and a touchdown from Lev Bell. How about Devonta Freeman? Turned back the clocks a little bit in this game with 13 carries for 79 yards. That was a very strong showing out of Freeman. His numbers this year have been a bit inflated by a couple big runs. He was steady for the most part in this one. Long of 19, but still 79 on 13 carries. If the Ravens, if Latavius Murray comes back soon, gets that level of production overall from the ground game, that's going to be a big deal for them as they continue to deal with a litany of injuries. Rashad Bateman, by the way, still a rookie, still young, still talented, pretty solid. 8 targets, 52 yards, none longer than 15. Still averaged over 10 yards per catch, but he played pretty solidly. He looks like a good kind of, maybe not full-fledged number one, but a very promising young rookie receiver. Meanwhile, Marquise Brown, 9 catches for 116. You'll pretty much take that every time, especially when there really wasn't the big play today for the Ravens. The longest pass was 22 yards to both Patrick Ricard, of course, and Marquise Brown himself. So not a flawless showing offensively, but when you score 34 points, normally that means you're going to win the football game unless you score 31 and you're Minnesota. Now, we got Ravens videos all year long for you guys, so if you haven't already, subscribe. News, rumors, reactions, tons of off-season coverage, I promise you guys. So join one of the fastest-growing Ravens YouTube channels by subscribing today. So the points allowed in this game, they say 31. And that's bad. But the yards say, actually, it felt pretty well. 318 total, 187 passing, 131 rushing, no takeaways. And the Vikings had a 94-yard touchdown drive that when they didn't move the ball, they tended to just give it up quickly. They had a field goal off of the one of the Lamar interceptions. They made it 17-3 early. Like, the Ravens defense, the numbers aren't great. But remember, that kick return touchdown by Kenny Nwangu, I think I got that wrong, but you guys know who I'm talking about. That was a big factor as well. Without that play, you allow 24, you feel better. The yards were low, the points too high. I tend to believe that means some course correction will be coming, and that will benefit the point side more so than the yards. All right, some of the players in this matchup. How about Josh Bynes? Since he's been inserted in the starting lineup, I've been pretty damn impressed by him. Look, I know Patrick Queen only had 4 tackles, but Bynes has been making plays, and the Ravens need that out of that inside linebacker spot. And Malik Harrison, of course, dealing with his own issues off the field after getting shot. Look, I was impressed by Bynes. 11 tackles, a TFL, a PBU, always nice as well, even if there wasn't that much pressure. 6 quarterback hits, 3 by Justin Houston for the Ravens against Minnesota. Some good news and then the bad news here. Deshon Elliott, hey, 2 tackles for loss. I like that out of your safety. Means he's making plays for you. Here's the bad news as the hits keep on coming for Baltimore. A torn pec and a torn biceps on the same play, allegedly, for Deshon Elliott. His season is over. This is brutal. Contract year for Elliott. His 3rd season-ending injury in his 4 years. You just hate to see it for Elliott, so I hope he gets better soon, but that's a big-time loss for Baltimore. So who was the MVP in this one for the Ravens? Was it Lamar Jackson? Maybe the kicker, the GOAT himself, Justin Tucker. He don't miss, guys. 37 yards or plus the 26-yard game winner. He's awesome. Let me know who you think deserves that game ball for Minnesota. One more quick injury note here I want to mention for Baltimore. Justin Madubuike left the game with an ankle injury. I tried to check right before we started filming. I haven't seen any real news or updates on that, which normally means that's a good situation. Harbaugh was quick to point out the injury to Deshon Elliott, which, again, that sucks. That's brutal. I liked about a lot of the promise so far out of Madubuike at this point this year. In this game, he had 3 tackles plus a quarterback hit. Always a good sign. Overall, I'm not panicking here. The ankle injury, I think, was more minor. We'll know more in the coming days, and hopefully the Ravens' unfortunate injury streak can end at some point. They lose Deshon Elliott today, a bit of a Pyrrhic victory there. But don't forget, they are now 6-2. That's a big deal for the Ravens as they fight for that number 1 seed in the AFC.